So first we're going to sing a song. Curiosity is also part of my spiritual practice, staying open and curious. When I'm curious, I'm not judgmental. I can be curious and pay attention to things and note things and not be judgmental about them. So that's where this song came from. So I'll sing the first verse, then we'll sing the first verse together again, and then do all the other verses. There's only 4, so it's pretty simple. And I want you to think about the words. So this is how it starts. What might happen if I give a bit more love, share more compassion, express more joy? What might happen if I seek to see the good? I don't know, and I'm curious. And then we go, la, la, la. So let's try that from the top. Ready? Here we go. What might happen if I give a bit more love, share more compassion, express more joy? What might happen if I seek to see the good? I don't know, and I'm curious. La, la, la. What might happen when I really feel my pain? Let go of the story, assign no blame. What might happen when I love right where I am? I don't know, and I'm curious. La, la, la. What might happen when I let go of the past, stop stressing about the future, and I'm here at last? What might happen when I really live this moment? I don't know, and I'm curious. La, la, la. Take this one a little bit slower and a little bit more internally. What might happen when I walk my path in trust, open to life and feel it all? What might happen when I remember who I am, a part of all that is? I'm curious, so curious, so curious. La, la, la. Beautiful. When I first started coming back to Unity to talk, and I used to do music too, and I would bring my keyboard and have all this recorded music, and then we started doing song circles through Interfaith Community, where we just sing a cappella. We just sing together with the power of our voices. And I just loved that so much. So that's what I started doing when I came back and started doing talks again here. So I just said, let's just sing together. No accompaniment, we don't need that. Let's just be relaxed and be with each other and hear each other in our voices. So get off of the history train. What the heck does that mean? So I get what I call my left-hand brain side messages, which are usually very powerful and very true. And one day it just said, get off the history train. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Well, I usually end up talking to this left-hand side voice. What does that mean? And it said, if you think about a model train, so close your eyes and envision a model train set. It might be really simplistic. It might be really elaborate, very detailed with people and cities and mountains and valleys and oceans. It might be just the simplest one that went around your Christmas tree when you were a kid. But does it go anywhere? No, it just keeps going around and around and around and around and around. It gets you nowhere. So what I took this all to mean was, if I'm consistently telling the same stories over and over and over again, I can't get anywhere except on that loop. I'm stuck on the loop. Whether it's a good story or a bad story, it doesn't really matter. If I'm telling the same story, I'm limiting what can happen next. I'm stuck on a loop. It can only go so far. There's no possibility or potential for change or growth. I've told a lot of good stories, how we found our property up here, how my husband and I met and got married. I mean, I've got a million good stories, and they're lovely to tell. But do I need to tell every single detail every single time? I've told the story of how my husband and I met and how we got married a million times. My husband's told it. If you had us tell it together or in separate rooms, it probably would be almost the same, word for word, because we got this one down, right? It's like a record. It's a tape that goes off in our mind, and we repeat it almost word for word. But that limits it. One of the stories that I've had for a long time is my lovely mom, Clancy, is here, and she's a minister, and she's powerful. We're both pretty powerful, but she's a powerful person. And I said for years, we have magic house finding juju. That's one of our stories. We say where it's time to move, either one of us, separately or together, it's time to move. This is what I want to find. I'm going to find it. We find it. We move. 30 days done. Like escrows, impossibilities. How did that ever happen? So that's a story. We have the magic house finding juju. That's limiting. It doesn't sound limiting, does it? But when I kept repeating that, when we were very clear that as a family, my husband and I, my mom and my bonus dad, wanted to move up here to Port Angeles together, we're like, we have magic house finding juju. We're going to be moved in a couple of months. No problem. It took 9 months. So at about month 4, my brain started to explode. Wait a minute. I have magic house finding juju. What's going on here? My story's all messed up. I couldn't go any further. What that gave me the opportunity to see was, I do have magic house finding juju, so does she. But we always thought that meant a short period of time. We didn't open up to the possibility that it might mean finding the right and exact perfect place that might take 9 months to birth. So that story had to change. It had to expand. Otherwise, we were on the same loop. We have magic house finding juju. It only takes a little while, but it's not happening. So what does that mean? Does that mean that we're failures? That we're not enough? That we made a mistake? No, we needed to expand our story, to trust in the process, which is another one of our mantras. Trust in the process that's unfolding. Not my time, but thy time, Spirit's time. The property we found that we moved into wasn't on the market until April, and we were looking in, starting from September the year before, but it wasn't ready for us yet, and we weren't ready for it. I had a lot of lessons to learn in those 9 months about letting go of expectation, letting go of when it needed to happen, what it needed to look like. And I kept noticing all the opportunities to settle. Well, what about this house? Well, we'd have to do this and that and the other thing. Well, what about that one? We'd have to change it a little bit. How many times have we settled in life for just good enough? It's like a too small shoe that you put on for the dance, but you can only dance 3 dances and then you got to go home. Instead of a nice comfy shoe where you can dance all night long. So letting go of parts of our story is necessary so that we can actually move forward. And if we're telling stories of our trauma, our pain, our losses, it's the same thing. We probably have those stories down to a nice, perfect little tale. Let me tell you about my tale of woe. And then we launch into our well-rehearsed, well-practiced, and deep groove. I was talking to some health practitioners about the grooves we create. Deep grooves that we create when we keep repeating those same stories of loss. I told the same story about my first husband for years. He was the bad guy, I was the good guy, and I escaped. That was my story. It was not accurate. It was not truthful. The truth was, he was a good person who had a bad upbringing, and he had a good heart, but he had pain that he couldn't deal with. I came into it an innocent, loving being who was going to love him enough so that he could heal his pain. How many of us have done that? I'll love you enough to fix you and let you have an open heart. That wasn't my job. So we spent 10 years, but he wasn't the bad guy, and neither was I. But I also was not the good guy, and neither was he. We both did things that were not helpful, kind, or loving in our relationship. But for years, I told the story, he's the bad guy, I got out, he couldn't be enough, so I had to leave, and that's my tale. As soon as I started changing that story, my life, I didn't know what was happening with him. He had disappeared. I had to trust that his life was good. But my life started opening up differently when I changed my story, when I started looking at it from a different angle, another point of view, when I stopped repeating the same tape loop. Does that make sense? Breathe. The other thing that happens often when we tell stories, whether they're good or bad, is we over-explain. We fill in lots of details. I'm going to ask you to be really, really brave and close your eyes, and then I'm going to ask you to raise your hand if something is true for you. But I don't want you to peek and look at anybody else. So close your eyes. This is just so I can get a sense of what's going on in the room. So, have you ever told a story with so much detail that you could start to see the listener's face glaze over? Raise your hand if that happened. Have you ever been listening to somebody who's telling you an extremely detailed story about a trauma or a great thing that happened to them with so many details that you could not keep track of it and your eyes glazed over? Raise your hand. Great. You can open your eyes. So you're not alone. I'm just going to tell you that right now. None of us are that special. And we're all that special. So this over-explaining thing, too many details. My husband has ADD. He talks about that, so I can share that. He's got ADD. I start telling a story about so-and-so who knows so-and-so, and she's related to such and such, and it was on a Thursday, and he goes, whoa, hold on a second. I can't hear anymore because I'm trying to process about Tom that you talked about 3 sentences ago. I'm trying to figure out his connection to what we're talking about. So through him, I'm learning to simplify my stories, to take my stories down from 15 sentences to 2, short, concise. I had a challenging first marriage, done, period. And then I can talk about how that helped me move forward in my life, what I learned, how is that helping me today? Because today is really all that I give a hoot about. That's all I really give a hoot about for me, and I gotta say, for you too. When we launch into stories about our history, really detailed stories about our history, we kind of are leaving the other person out because they don't have our history. They don't have our experience. We're doing a monologue instead of a conversation. So if we can take any story we have, good, bad, or ugly, and think about condensing it into a couple of simple, concise sentences that give you the gist of the story. I had a traumatic childhood. I didn't, but I'm just giving examples. I had a traumatic childhood. My mom was crazy, and it was really hard for me, period. Now, let me talk about how that affects me now, or how I have challenges going out in the world, or whatever it is that we want to have a conversation about with the other person. Now we're getting space for that conversation to happen. I came across this really interesting post on Facebook, and it really hit home for me. When you hear someone over-explaining, know that one or all of these is true. And there's probably more that can go on this list, but they only listed 3. So when you hear someone over-explaining, or when you're doing it, know that one or all of these things might be true. They need proof and validation, and have often had their reality denied. Think about that for yourself. I need to explain this so that you get it, so I can prove to you and validate to you that what I'm saying is true, because so often my reality has been denied. That's not true. That didn't happen. Oh, you're just making that up. You don't really feel that. I have crazy visions, crazy ideas that come in the left side of my head. Thank God my husband says yes to most of them. I think we should move to Port Angeles. Okay. I think we should buy this house. Great. Because he knows that that's I can't give him data. He's a data guy, but I can't give him any data for why I believe this is true. But he believes me, so I don't have to over-explain or justify. But that took a long time because he's a data guy. He wants to know the facts. And I'm like, I don't know those. I could just tell you my feeling. So proof and validation, and often have had the reality denied. That's one. I'm going to change these from they to we've. We've been hurt in unpredictable ways and believe it was because we didn't explain better. We've been hurt in unpredictable ways and believe it was because we couldn't explain it any better. And the last one, we've grown up being ignored. So we over-explain to be paid attention to. I don't know if any of those hit home for you, but they definitely hit home for me. I was not ignored growing up. I was too noisy for that. But other things have happened that made me over-explain things. My first marriage, I over-explained a lot because in that relationship, he needed to be right and I needed to be right. We weren't in that space of would you rather be happy or would you rather be right? We were definitely needing to be right because we were young. That's what we knew. So battle, battle, battle till one of us would concede, usually me. But he wasn't a bad guy, and neither was I. So take a breath. When we get stuck on a loop, when we get stuck on that train, that history train, there's no problem with talking about our history. And part of my invitation today is keep the history, but remember the joy and release the sorrow and the regret around what happened. If you had a traumatic childhood and we only focus on that, that's what you get. But if you can find one kernel of joy, I remember that one time when my mom or my dad or my uncle or my cousin, I remember that one day. I remember that every week they would take me for ice cream, even if the rest of the week was terrible. Find the moments of joy and then make sure to include those the next time the story is told. Here it was the trauma, but then here's the joy. And that helps move us off that loop into something better, something bigger, something more expansive, something more possible. Spirit is nothing but potential, and it's up to us to direct it where we choose, where we want it to go. I'm going to read a few quotes today, and they're all from the book that we're using as our Interfaith Book of the Year, our winter read. It's called Ladder to the Light by Stephen Charleston, and I really love him as an author. He's an indigenous elder, he's an Episcopal priest, and he's also a Buddhist. So he's got a really rich background. And he writes these, he tunes into spirit every day and gets a little download, which he writes. And then in the book, he also does little follow-up comments about those downloads. So these are a couple things that he said. I'm going to read one called Letting Go. Oh, I forgot to grab my glasses. I'm going to step back a little bit. Letting go. Let go of the worries that tangle your mind. Let go of the fear of the future you cannot clearly see. Let go of the memories that melt beneath your feet like quicksand, drawing you deeper into the dark waters of regret. Let go of every care that would steal your heart. Drop them all from your hands. Just do that right now. Drop the imaginary things from your hands. Let them fall to the ground. They can hold you no longer. This is a moment you have given yourself, a moment let loose from all constraints. By your faith, you are free, alive in the liberty of hope. You have stepped into the circle of the Spirit, a space without the gravity of sorrow, a space open with restoration and renewal. Let go now and be healed. Breathe into that. When we start getting off of that tape loop, that history train, and we start building a new track that takes us somewhere else, we are in present moment. We're in what's happening right now. If I'm focused on the past, I get more of the same. If I open up to what might be, I don't know, but I'm curious. What might be in this present moment? Something new, something expansive, something different. There's a phrase that our family has used. I don't remember even where my mom picked it up, but it's up until now. And I love the phrase up until now. I call it the magic spiritual eraser. So if I say I had this terrible traumatic childhood, but up until now, it was keeping me stuck, and in this moment, I'm choosing to move forward. Up until now, I used to say I was fat, but now I say that I'm robust, and I'm healthy and strong, and I'm taking better care of myself today. Up until now, I believed I was limited in my abundance, and I'm claiming my abundance right now. Oh, look, I found a penny on the floor. Up until now. Up until now brings us right here. It acknowledges what came before. Up until now, this has been my truth, and I'm claiming something new. Claim something new up until now. Change the story. That happened to me this week. Acknowledge your weirdness. Changing our story means that we acknowledge that we all have our own particularities. I like that word. I don't even know if it's a real word, but I think I made it up. Particularities. I don't like peculiarities because that has a negative connotation. But particularities means that we all have particular things that we like, we don't like, that give us juice, that make us feel tired. We're all different. We're all the same, but we're all different. We are part of the one life, but the one life is unique in its expression in every single thing. No flower is the same as any other, and we are not either. So we've all got our weirdness, our particularities, our stories, our loops. When we can acknowledge them to each other, to ourselves, with curiosity, with a little bit of joy, with a little bit of silliness, then we've got space to be who we are. And acknowledge, yeah, you're weird, I'm weird too. I know so many people that said, I just want to be normal. Like, there is no normal. There's no such thing. You scratch the surface of anybody and they're weird. And Stephen talks about this. From one oddball to another. Let me celebrate your outrageousness, your odd quirks, and your essential strangeness. I love that. Because we keep thinking we're the same. Well, you think like me, so let's talk about that. And I'm expecting you to behave like me, but you're not. You're weird. So am I. Your essential strangeness. That's what I like best about you. This is what I admire. This is a message from Spirit that he got. I love that. You not only move to the beat of a different drum, but you have a whole symphony. You notice what many of us never see. You find what the rest of us forgot we lost. You have bypassed the need to be in with the in crowd and have created a community of dreamers. I say a community of weirdos. I, for one, honor your weirdest vision and your most unconventional idea. Without you, the world would be a bad movie. I love that. So from one oddball to another, thank you for being what you are not. I love that. Good job for the weirdos. Our weirdness is what allows us to imagine, to be creative. Our weirdness allows us to not be in with the in crowd, to not have to fit in all the time. How many of you have spent your whole life trying to fit in and conform? Definitely, for sure, me. I want to make sure everybody likes me and that I'm fitting in and that I'm not too strange for the world, but I am. I'm a weirdo. I'm big and loud. Sometimes I'm really quiet and shy. Other times I'm much more introverted than I used to be. So people that knew me a long time ago are like, what's wrong with you? You're so quiet. Well, that's who I am now. That's okay. That's okay to be different. Acknowledge your weirdness and start to see things with new eyes. I'm sure I've shared with you the what else can it be game that my mom taught me when I was a child, and I teach to my drama students and my improv students. What else can it be forces us to look at things differently. So let me just look around what I want to use. I'm going to use that Kleenex box. Nope, let me use the Kleenex box. So, what is it? Box of tissues, very good. So just look at the shape. Don't even think about that. Or maybe do think about that. Actually, I'm going to leave that up. So look at the shape. Don't think about the size or the color. What if it was bigger than this whole building? What if it was teeny tiny? What else could this be besides a Kleenex box? A sailboat. A sailboat. So I'm going to have you raise your hand just so I can point to you. So it's a sailboat. Ooh, look at me sailing down the seas, beautiful ocean. Yes. A train. Oh, there we go. It's on the track going around and around. That's why I love that song Tim picked, which was perfect. He picked it on purpose. What else could it be? Ooh, a volcano. Good. What else? Ooh, flames in a fireplace. What else? House with a chimney. Good. What else? What if you look at it like that? A door. Monument. See, it's the but oh god, Empire State Building. My brain just went Eiffel Tower. That's not right. Oh, King Kong climbing the side.
It's a miniature outhouse.
A miniature out. Well, or if it was outhouse sized, it would be an outhouse. Yeah, absolutely. What else?
A brick.
A sculpture, a brick. Good. It's all kinds of things. It all depends on how you look at it. And our life is the same. We tend to look at things with the same vision. Oh, this is that thing again. Oh, my husband and I are having the same argument again. What if it wasn't the same? What if it was new? What if there was one thing that changed this time? What if there was some other way that you could talk about it? I've determined that when somebody wants to be with me and talk and then they bring up politics, which right now is terrifying, I'm going to ask to see pictures of their kids or their pets. I'm just going to say, hey, do you have any kids? Can I see your pictures? Hey, do you have any pets? Can I see a picture? Because it'll change the energy. It'll change the energy and divert the conversation in another direction and give us another possibility to connect instead of to separate. Even if we're talking the same language, if we're having a political conversation and we're in the same camp, then we're just echoing each other and getting each other riled up, right? So maybe look at a picture of your kids. Or do you have any nice pictures of your phone of scenery? Let's look at some. Break the cycle, break the pattern, get off the train. Whatever's going on, whatever's happening. Be daring to dream up something different. Be daring to try something different. Be vulnerable and say, I'd like to change the way we're doing this. What else could we do? How else could we talk to each other? What else might we say? Here's what I really want to say to you. And see what happens. Be curious. What might be? From Stephen. If someone asks you why you are such a dreamer, tell them it's because reality can't keep up with you. I like that. Claim your right to be a visionary, to see into the future with hope, to imagine what could happen if the sacred could just tip the scales toward justice. Don't settle for what is, but reach for what might be. Let your mind gather the facts, let your heart sort out the reasons, but open your spirit to soar to the realm of possibility. I know this is what it looks like. I know this is how it's been. I know this is what the reasons are that you did that or didn't do that or can't move forward. I know all that stuff. And then we go, yes, and up until now, that's what I was limited by, but I'm going to open to Spirit's wisdom that knows way more than I do. Open your spirit to soar to the realm of possibility. The bland prophets of the status quo may think they own today, but dreamers like you slip past them to discover the way to tomorrow. Reality is just a rearview mirror. It's part of that train. Oh, but that's how it's always been. We have to keep it like that. No, we don't. As Glenn talked about, the old heaven and earth is making way for the new. So it's very tumultuous right now. It's scary and tumultuous and everything's getting upended. Yay! Hallelujah! That's the only way we're going to create something new. That's the only way that those of us that are dreamers and visionaries and big old weirdos are going to vision something new that's possible. A way forward. Take another breath. I got to grab my program. See where we are. Cool. So it says message, movement, and meditation. So I'm going to invite you to stand up. Stand up. We're going to move a little bit because we've been sitting. I don't want you to fall asleep. It's warm in here. We're like, oh, it's so cozy. So without bonking your neighbor in the head, I'm just going to ask you to just kind of just go to the best of your ability. And shake your hands a little bit like you're just flicking stuff off the ends of your fingers. However that works for you, whatever works for you. And just so you're not flicking your stuff on your neighbor, flick it to the floor. So you're going to let whatever is stuck in you go to the floor. One of the things I have been noticing with my diagnosis of Parkinson's is my hands get twitchy, my legs get twitchy. And so I walk around the house like this all the time. And I shake my legs. So shake your legs out. Be careful of your balance. Grab onto the pew if you need to. Just shake your legs out. Do a little twist. Do a little figure eights with your hips. Shake a little shoulder, do a little shimmy, and then just go. One more. And send whatever doesn't work anymore into the earth, because the earth can take it. It'll turn it into something beautiful. One more. Good. Have a seat. I know. Tape loop. So we're going to do a little meditation. So I invite you to sit back. See, I woke you up just enough to get you all peaceful now. Just sink in and tune in. And this is the voice of spirit through me, but this is the voice of spirit talking to you. And if the word spirit doesn't work for you, this is what love is saying to you. This is what someone who loves you is saying to you. I will love you no matter what, no matter where or when. I will love you as you are, as you will be or have ever been. I will love you simply and honestly, without pretense or expectation. I will love you when I listen to what you say, seeking to know your mind, to hear your heart, to never turn away. I will love you when I disappoint you, when I make you angry, when I do not always see the world in the same way as you. I will love you and never give up on loving you. And I only hope you will love me that way too. So speaks the Spirit of love to each of us, in this and 1,000 ways, offering love unconditionally, enduring through all our days. Do not be afraid. Do not be anxious today, no matter how difficult your life may seem, for there is a loving presence watching over you. No matter where you are, no matter who you are, no matter what your circumstance, no matter how serious your situation, there is a loving presence watching over you and loving you. The presence is aware of you and of what you need, and it reaches out to you, keeping you from being alone, offering you shelter and understanding. The loving presence knows you and loves you no matter what may come or what may have happened. The presence is always there, beside you, within you, ready to help, no matter how long it takes, no matter how hard it may be. So do not be afraid, because love will find a way. All we have to do is open. Notice where you feel that in your body. Notice if there's any closed spaces, and see if they can just open a crack. As Leonard Cohen says, that's where the light comes in. We are never broken. We are simply broken open. Take a breath. Let it go. Let it go audibly from your mouth. Breathe in. Breathe out. And one more big breath. Shake it out. We need to shake more. Animals do that instinctively. Something happens, they go, rah, 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 and then they go, and they let it go. And then they move, then they're like, oh, hello, I love you. We can do the same. We notice we're getting into a conflict with somebody, shake it off, shake it off. What I meant to say was, I do that a lot with my husband. I snap, and then I go, wait, let me take that back. What I meant to say was, I really love you, and my request is blah, 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 or whatever it is I actually wanted to say. But sometimes I'm snappish, not kind, abrupt, blunt. Me? Oh yeah, because I'm just like that. And I'm kind and loving and compassionate too. We're all of it. And we're a bunch of weirdos. God bless the weirdos. Yeah. And so it is.